welcome to Jurassic Park 3 Minutes, where we'll be discussing the second Jurassic Park sequel, 1 minute at a time. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And today we're back to discuss minute 46 of Jurassic Park 3, but before we do that, David, big shout out to one of our listeners, Soul Raptor, on Facebook. He commented during the week, or during last week, on one of your newest acquisitions, and he says that the podcast makes his day go faster, and that's what we're here for. Not only to inform, but to help you get through your daily grind. But the acquisition in question, David, you got a big thing. We've discussed it previously, but now it's in hand.
Yes, it is. It's the Willis and Geiger safari hat that has that. If you've been listening to the podcast before, especially to the Lost World Minute, where we kind of drool over Roland Tembo's character, his character wears a lot of Willis Geiger gear. One of them being his jacket being the Hemingway jacket that Ernest Hemingway, famous American writer and adventurer, designed for his personal use in like African safari, and another one being a belt that Willis and Geiger had. I think that was it for the clothes, but his hat was also by Willis and Geiger, but Sue Moore, the costume designer on The Lost World, kind of customized it a bit with swapping out the band. The hat came with two bands, either a kind of like a wrap that wrapped around the bottom of the crown, or zebra. It was like a zebra band, which, interestingly enough, mine came with the zebra brand, and that's real zebra. I was not expecting that. I thought it would be like, it was just like dyed that way. No, I cut off the band and I'm holding it in my hand. I'm like, this is real fur. I'm like, that's cool. Kind of creepy, but cool. But yeah, I switched out the band, added the custom chin strap, and I gotta tell you, I wore it. This past Saturday was a dedication to my favorite walking trail. Got promoted from just a county park. There was like a something that the county park district took care of to now getting nature preserve status, where now it gets state funding and is able to basically get a lot more money for stuff it needs, any kind of updates, and basically scrub it, keeping the graffiti scrubbed off the trees and stuff. Those teenagers. But another thing is they also added 80 acres to the park that had previously been private land. And I wore the hat today, and just because it's cold and rainy, and it was perfect. I mean, my head did not feel a drop, though my camera did get a little bit waterlogged for a bit. Yeah. That is the big thing that I'm excited about this week, is finally getting Roland Tembo's hat to basically complete my nearly all original parts Roland costume. I don't have the belt because it's kind of pricey for a belt. And really, who's going to notice that feature anyway?
Yeah, well, just for a brief revisit to when we were discussing Roland, and I think even Sarah Harding's Lucky Pack was the same brand, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, Sarah Harding's Lucky Pack was also Willis and Geiger. It was their rucksack, and I guess costume just basically roughed it up, dragged it behind the truck or whatever they did to it to make it look like it does in the movie.
Yeah, well, that's it. When InGen put the expedition to go to the island to capture animals, they decked out their employees in the best stuff, and that's even a shame now. After so long after the film, clothing, that branded clothing from that time period is still fairly expensive. But then you go all the way up to the top. I think there was a lot of comments in your posts with the photos you've been posting up about getting one of those Nitro 700s and just the cost of six figures at least.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't find any 600 Nitro Express by Saoirse online for sale, but the 577 Nitro Express and I think the 700 like Nitro Express. I did see both were in the six-figure range, so that will not be getting added to the costume. Sorry, guys.
No. At the best, you could probably get the case.
Yeah, that's probably worth a couple $10,000 itself. Velvet line, ebony wood, or something like that.
Oh, I'm sure you could. Make up your own. Find some sort of similar case and bang it up a little bit and put those leather straps over it.
Well, there's also, thankfully, being America, us and our gun obsession, we have lots of toy double barrel shotguns you can pick up pretty much anywhere, like Walmart or even,
Oh yes, I have a couple here. Had to cut the orange caps off the end, but.
And so the hat was really the big kind of score this weekend. But last weekend I also was able to get, on the same day that I went to the nature preserve dedication, I went to Meijer just to pick up some groceries, and they had the 118 die-cast Jeep Wrangler, the Jeep 29 from Jurassic World, the one that's all rusted up.
Nice.
And so I grabbed that one. That was a really nice pickup. It's 118 scale, and it's actually scales almost exactly with the Mattel toy. And so, I mean, it's got a lot more details, a lot less, I'd say, cartoonish, exaggerated features. It's more of a die-cast item. And because of that, they kind of only fits Maisie. She's the only one I've been able to fit into the vehicle. Everybody else is...
Oh, no. The Legacy figures won't fit in there.
No, I might be able to get them to stand up. Like I'll have Alan Grant standing up. Because I'm definitely getting that Brachiosaurus when it comes out. Which, unfortunately, now I'm not sure if it's going to remain this way, but I know that Target and Walmart are reducing their stock sizing for Jurassic Park.
Oh, no.
Because Toy Story 4 and Avengers merchandise is hot right now.
Oh.
And so they've decreased a lot of that here in the States, including in mine. And so I think I'm going to have to resort to more online and less dependent on in-store, because unfortunately in-store won't be carrying as much anymore.
Yeah, well, even here I've noticed even the Star Wars stuff has just sort of shrunk to almost an end cap. The Jurassic World stuff, definitely. The Dino Rivals stuff, definitely. A lot of that sort of upper franchise stuff have got out of the way for Toy Story 4 and the Avengers, so that's a bit of a shame. Hopefully, coming into Christmas when that's all said and done, we got Episode 9 this year, so that'll probably boost the Star Wars stuff back up. But I was completely surprised yesterday. I was in buying a couple of DVDs and seen a pop vinyl, the first Jurassic pop vinyl I've seen in a while, and it was the red Dilophosaur. I'm not sure why they'd done a red one, but it was the red Dilophosaur, and that was the only pop vinyl I've seen in the wild over here. But I got a package last week. I got the little green T-Rex, and I got a couple of packs with the Explorer, the M-Class and the RV, so I'm about to start customising, making that into the twin trailers.
That sounds like fun.
Finally, after a year, they're being released.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be. Have you figured out how you're going to do the accordion thing for it yet?
I've got some 10mm. It's like a cable cover coaxial that's got those ribs on it. So I'm just going to see if I can cut it to length, like cut a bit of it, and then sort of heat it and square it off, because at the moment it's round. But I'm just going to play with a couple of things and see what works, see what looks okay. Mm-hmm. Again, it's only going to be sitting on my shelf, so I'm not going to be keen on doing a super good job. But I've got a couple of spares, so I can practice me cutting of it and make sure all that's done right. Because you always need a test one. Never try and do something on the first run. It never works.
If we split up, I'm going with you guys.
Before we get into today's minute, we've got our weekly check over at Jurassic-Pedia.com, and today we've got another new article put up by you, David, of the Arcadia from the Fallen Kingdom film. Fantastic article, a few good photos there as well, and a bit of a layout of the ship and its role in the film. But one thing I wanted to discuss, and we've been sort of on and off about Fallen Kingdom, the fate of Sauna, I think the last Jurassic Minutes we talked a bit about Sanctuary Island, whether that was real, whether Mills had actually purchased the island, and all that sort of thing. And during the week, I'd remembered, before Fallen Kingdom come out, when I was still in production, we got a plot leak of, I think it was 8 ships originally were in the evacuation of animals off the island, and then the last one was going to go rogue, and that's where Mills and that had it come to Lockwood Manor. In the film, it's never really addressed how long Lockwood's team have been there evacuating dinosaurs for. When we get to the bunker itself and we see the dino tracking, there are a hell of a lot of dots at that east dock.
Mm-hmm.
Already set up, already done. We know Claire's only really brought in because they can't get Blue, and that's what Mills wants for the Indoraptor project and Woo, but it's never really addressed whether or not they've been there evacuating dinosaurs before the whole Congress thing was going on. If possibly those other 7 ships, or at least other ships, have already taken animals to Sanctuary Island, and maybe that could be our much wanted conclusion to the franchise, where we see those animals roaming Sanctuary Island once again at peace, and the only people that know about it, Mills, Lockwood, all that, are dead. Claire and Owen are really the only ones that would know, apart from the crews of the ships, but it could set up the end of the franchise.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that is interesting, because I do remember that leak where they said that multiple ships are taking the dinosaurs off the island, and then there was Mills had like the last one turn away from the sanctuary island and go to the Lockwood Manor. I wonder if that was more of a plot that was kind of cut from an earlier script, because in the final movie they only make it seem like it's only the Arcadia, you know? They don't really ever mention that any other ships are really doing anything.
Yeah. Well, that's especially when Mills is trying to get Claire there. Like, he could have had the drop line of, we've already got X amount of animals off the island, or even when they arrive, come over by plane, you could have seen another ship leave as the Arcadia is being loaded. But and especially too, like our main cast, Rexy and all that sort of stuff's being loaded on the Arcadia, so we can get that final scene at Lockwood Estate. Because I think that original plot too had Claire and Owen being kicked off the boat when they realised it wasn't going where it was supposed to, and they had to swim back to Nublar or something and escape another way.
I think that one was more fan speculation based on the leaked set images of Claire, Owen, and Franklin kind of on the beach there, washed up.
Yep, definitely, because I think I was on that boat as well. Because that's when, the last final bit of filming they done was in that little cove on Hawaii. Yeah. But it's one of those things, we've always speculated how can we have more animals? Yes, there's going to be more animals made, but having some of our favourites back. The Dilophosaur, yes, it was supposed to be on the boat, but was never seen. And if we're going to have more animals that could leave, the story doesn't have to take place there, but we can finish off with Sanctuary Island, Hammond's wish, Lockwood's wish, whatever. The animals are back there. It's a possibility anyway. It's something they haven't really ruled out either way.
The Arcadia, though, I also remember the supposed leak of the ship ended up being this. It looked like like one of those tanker ships, and it made me think that they're getting everything off the island. Which in the final film, it actually turned out to be a much smaller ship. It almost is, and I think I remember describing it as such previously, reminiscent of a landing platform dock, which is a class of amphibious assault ship that launches like duck boats and stuff off out of the stern, and the stern of the Arcadia is actually pretty much exactly like that. I mean, it's got the exact same kind of loading and unloading mechanism in a way.
Yeah. And because in the film too, we've seen there were a lot of animals in those crates being chained down or loaded onto the deck of the ship, and maybe because so many were on trucks in the end was just because they had to get off the island and they just drove the animals straight into the back of the ship instead of unloading and stacking the crates in there. They could have got some more animals in there, but
yeah, they were like Mills said, they were a day behind already, so they were really pressed for time. I do think that it's the interesting thing though is driving the truck straight forward into the Arcadia doesn't seem to be entirely unintentional, because the bow of the ship opens up and you can drive the trucks out of the boat from the front.
Oh yes, I just see it. One of the photos you've posted here. Because I was going to say it's much like a lot of the smaller ferries and that, where you can drive in one end and out the other. We've got a couple of big ferries here that go between Australia and Tasmania that do a similar thing. You sort of drive on the front, then drive out the back. It's back to front, but there's a photo here of the. Is that concept art with the trucks coming out the front, or is that from the film? It looks.
No, that's from the film. Yeah.
Okay. The CG doesn't look that good. No, yeah, definitely. You got a photo here on the article of those ships being unloaded out of the front of those trucks driving out the front of the boat when it's docked at Lockwood Estate. So, yeah, I remember. I don't know if it was just concept art or just concept talking of that super tanker, and it seemed like they were going to get everything off. And with Mills saying they're behind, well, we've seen previously how hard these animals are to round up with InGen trying it before, so there's probably a good reason why they are behind.
And then another thing to remember is I think it was either deleted or is in the script or something like that, where they say that, or Wheatley says that they had previously attempted to go after Blue and had crewmen die going after her because that's why they brought on Claire and Owen, because they just couldn't get Blue without them. They needed Blue and they needed Owen to get Blue, and after they got Blue, they didn't need Owen anymore.
Yeah. Yep. I might have to slip the Blu-ray in and rewatch Fallen Kingdom at long last. It has been a very long time since I've watched the film, so let's see if I can pick up on some of these things. But that's the Arcadia article over at Jurassic-Pedia.com. So go over, check it out, and check out. There's a lot of new stuff going up there each week as well.
Be careful with that. T-Rex. It scares some of the smaller ones away, but it attracts one really big one with a fin.
This is T-Rex P. How'd you get it?
You don't want to know.
All right, ready to get into 46?
Sure.
As we enter minute 45 of Jurassic Park 3, Eric had led Grant to his water tanker bunker, and as the minute ended, he'd realised who he'd just saved. As we open on minute 46, Eric asks Alan, "What are you doing here?" Grant clears his throat and thinks for a minute, and says, "Your parents invited me along," with a smile. At the 11-second mark, we cut to some time later, as Alan scrapes the last remaining scraps of food from a large tin. At the 22-second mark, Eric carries over a large cardboard box and sits down and pulls out a chocolate bar, as Grant continues to scrape the last little bits out of the tin. At the 32-second mark, after watching Grant for a moment, Eric breaks the silence and says, "I read both of your books, and I liked the first one more, before you went to the island." "You like dinosaurs then?" Grant stops eating for a moment and replies, "Well, they hadn't tried to eat me yet." At the 47-second mark, Grant finishes his food and puts the tin down and starts looking around the tanker. Eric adds, "When InGen cleaned out, they left a lot of stuff behind." Grant asks if there's any weapons, but Eric says no. And as the minute ends, Alan starts to cough again and looks around for some water and picks up a beaker with a dark fluid inside. As we continue into 46, Eric's realised who he's talking to, and as he says, "Your Aunt Grant," we sort of get that little Jurassic theme start to pick up in the background as well as we normally get whenever there's any sort of discussion of Park and Alan and that, we get that theme sort of play. But
I was going to say it's nice because That's something they did with The Lost World, too, was they would have the little flurry of the Jurassic Park theme whenever the old park or something that was reminiscent of the old park was brought up.
Yeah, it's just sort of that little bit of a memory, bring up the memory of the park and having the tune to go along with it. It's not a full out Welcome to Isla Nublar track from the score. It's just that little flourish, which is fantastic. But Eric asks, "What are you doing here?" And Alan thinks for a moment and says, "Your parents invited me along," clearly trying to put a funny spin on the situation. But we cut to Grant's bloody hands as he's scraping the last remnants of some food from a very large tin. As he brings a spoon up, I think on the Jurassic-Pedia article for Eric's water tanker, it's described as he's eating beans. The sauce and that what he's brought out on the spoon looks a bit darker. I sort of think it looks like stew or something, but you can see a couple of beans in amongst it. So eating cold food out of a tin's probably not my preferred thing to do, but there they are in a survival situation. Plus, there's you can sort of see the scum and the older food stuck around the top where it's either been cooked or rotten a little bit. So it's it probably wouldn't smell that good either.
Though, unsurprisingly, I mean, not just beans, but canned food in general is usually noted for its longevity. You can pretty much stick it in your pantry and forget about it for a couple of years and then come back like 10 years later. Oh, I forgot I had this can of instant mashed potatoes.
Well, it's just keeping the oxygen out of it, and that's the thing. As long as it doesn't get pierced, you can continue to have that food stored. I think I've had like preserved fruit and that in tins for years and years, and having it still good. There have been some occasions where food's got a little bit too warm in a pantry or something, and the tin split, and then it goes off really quick. But yeah, but it also it continues to push that theme of, well, the island, it's the destruction shown or seems to be of only 4 years after the incident, not 8. It's back to that lost world where if they had more time in the gas station and got food from the gas station and operations building, it'd be pretty much as similar as what we see here. Much like it is in the novel, where they raid the fridges and that and store them for tinned food and chocolate bars.
I gotta admit, this scene, speaking of chocolate bars, this scene always makes me want a Nestle Crunch Bar. That's what they're eating, I think, isn't it? Nestle Crunch Bars, or is it like just regular Nestle chocolate bar?
There's one shot here in a minute where Eric's talking, and when he realises it's been when Grant says it's been 8 weeks, you can sort of see the label pretty well. But for the most part, it's like there's some blurry wrappers behind Grant as he's sitting down here. It's not really. I think the CinemaSins guys throw it straight up as product placement for Crunchy Bars, but like for the wrappers and that. But I don't think it's seen as obvious as what others think it is in the film.
No. I do remember some like serious candy product placement in The Lost World. They basically had a s'mores kit there in the tent that Sarah and Kelly were sleeping in. You can plainly see a crackle bar, which is basically, I think, Hershey's answer to the Nestle Crunch Bar.
Yep. Yeah, well, that camera pans down, you can clearly see labels, and it sits on it for about 5 seconds before you start to hear the footprints waking Sarah up. So, I'd see that more of product placement than what this here is. But we get Eric carries over a cardboard box and sits down, and he grabs another 2 bars out of it and throws the box aside. So you can only assume that box may have been full of chocolate, and with this big tin that Alan's eating out of. As Eric's sitting down, there's another large tin on the shelf behind him. Maybe he found some sort of cafeteria or storeroom in the lab complex.
I just brought up some screen caps here. Yeah, that's definitely a Crunch Bar. And then looks like, I mean, the thing about this scene, though, I mean, you could sit here and pause it, and you can see so much just junk.
Well, yeah, we've gone through and had a bit of a look, and even over Grant's shoulder, you can see one of those animal snare poles just swinging, hanging up off something from the roof there, which they never really use in the script and the novel. Eric has a shock prod or a cattle prod there somewhere, but we don't see that. There's like the large, well, we can see the roll of rope that's beside Eric. There's a smaller bundle of rope over on his other side. You can see the telephone sitting on the roll of rope, which a lot of this stuff would be useless, and you'd wonder why he'd scavenge it. Okay, maybe he was hoping to find another building, another area that might have power or a working telephone, but
then he'd have to lug it all the way over there.
Yeah.
You know, like, he has a phone, which would, I mean, like, the old-fashioned, I think it's the same kind of phone that's in the compound area. It's got the cord and just some dirt on it. And it'd be completely useless without a power source, let alone a telephone wire connection, you know? You gotta plug, these were the old phones you had to plug into the phone jack and then say, don't go making a phone call, I'm going on the internet.
And that's even if the phone itself was even in working order. Like, again, you can see it here. It's got that moss. I would not be surprised if it's just the same phone from the reception set that they've grabbed for a later scene. They'll both, I'm guessing this is in a stage. It's a mock-up. They're not really in the tanker here. So I'm guessing they would have grabbed that prop. But yeah, it just makes you wonder. Look, maybe he has lost the plot. It was going that way in the novel and the script that he's sort of gone a little bit feral. Maybe he just grabbed the phone and was talking to people and talking to himself overnight.
One thing you do see here over Eric's, what is it? It looks like, I'm sorry, his left shoulder is glass vials with white caps on them that almost make me consider maybe they're penicillin. There also looks to be, I can't really make it out. It's a white bottle without a label on it. It has like a bluish top that could be, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really sure what that one could be. I mean, maybe some kind of cleanser in case he gets injured. That one would definitely be useful.
Yeah, like a saline solution or something.
Yeah. But on his right shoulder, and you pointed this out, and we both kind of had the same idea. It looks like a beer keg.
Yeah. The only problem with it is it looks like there's a handle or something attached halfway down. But yeah, it definitely looks like an old style beer keg sitting there on its side. Which he's 13 years old, maybe. Maybe he'd seen the keg and gone, I'll roll that back there and hopefully I can find a way of opening it one day.
But then, looking back at Grant's Way, we do see some other weird things like, it looks like rubber non-slip mat. He had rolled up and stuffed among the items. Looks like it almost looks like a mini small kind of cage next to that, you know, but it has the doors swing open and they look like tiny little, like, but the door is kind of got like a grate, but it's stacked 3 high. I'm not sure if you see what I'm saying. It's underneath the snare pole.
Oh yeah. Well, I thought they were little shells, but yeah, the little cage doors with a little knob on the front of the cage, and they just going off the size of, like, Grant there. Because beside that, there seems to be one of those large plastic tubs or like army trunks that's on its side. It looks like it's got one of them 50-litre water jugs in it for your upside down water fountains.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
So using that as a scale, they'd seem too small to be cages unless they're for infants, like compies or something. But yeah, because you got them. There's another, or must be the same snare pole there. The steel shelving there with the rubber mats on top of it. There's something big and white behind Grant. He never moves enough to see what the front of it is.
No. It almost looks like it could be a generator, but I mean, generators, especially one of that size, would be really heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see a 12-year-old being able to lift that into a water truck by themselves.
Or just carry it there back from the the compound as well. Because there's something else that almost looks like radio equipment or something up on top of that shelf under one of those rolls of mat. But the cardboard box on the ground behind him looks like you can see sort of foil in the bottom corner. Maybe he's got a second box there full of candy bars as well. Grant does note in the script in the novel that he can see candy bar wrappers everywhere and realises that Eric's probably been living off chocolate for the last 8 weeks because there's just so much rubbish everywhere from candy bar wrappers. But I was meant to Google. I know beakers are the square ones, but the lab glass, like the test tube, I'm pretty sure the triangular ones are called beakers as well. But I can't remember their scientific name.
Yeah, there's like all kinds of equipment I forgot the name of in chemistry class we used. You know?
Yeah. We see one in a minute with the P in it, but there's another one empty hanging from something in the roof. Looks like a large sieve or something. But yeah, like behind Eric as he's eating the chocolate bar, you can see the box that the binoculars are on later seems to be standing up on its edge above that red cabinet with those jars in it. But yeah, like as we started, even the large orange water cooler that doesn't seem to have a lid on, it's just maybe you just use that to carry stuff there, but a lot of this is just useless junk.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lamp there that it'd be 240 here. 110's your outlet voltage over there, isn't it? To plug into the wall.
Yeah.
So it'd be a 110 a 110 lamp there as well. Which why you've got no power? Why are you taking a lamp with you?
I mean, he's literally been living on a water truck for 8 weeks. He even says as much. You know?
Yeah, and we sort of discussed last minute with the script how this water truck was supposed to be in the compound with the maintenance vehicles and that out the back, and it'd make more sense there than